Champagne flutes were crystal baccarat. The roses were imported from Ecuador, and the woman in the $47,000 Vera Wang gown was screaming at a man in a janitor's uniform to get the hell out of her wedding. Security, security. Security's securing quartet like a knife. There is a homeless person contaminating my reception. 300 guests turned in their gilded chairs. The Rosewood Hotel's grand ballroom, with its Swarovski chandeliers and hand-painted Italian ceiling, went silent except for the click of Victoria's Louboutins on marble as she stormed toward the side entrance. The man stood there in navy work pants and a name tag that read Miguel. He was maybe 60 with calloused hands and silver hair, holding a small wrapped package. He didn't move. He just watched her approach with eyes that had seen everything. "Ma'am," the security guard hesitated. "He says he is family." "Family?" Victoria's laugh was sharp enough to cut glass. "Look at him. Does he look like he belongs at a wedding that cost more than most people make in 5 years?" Her new husband, David, appeared at her elbow. Sweet David, quiet David. David, who worked as a high school teacher and drove a 10-year-old Honda. David, whose shy proposal 6 months ago had surprised everyone. How did he land Victoria Ashford, daughter of the Ashford real estate dynasty? "Vicky, maybe we should," David started. "Don't Vicky me right now." She didn't even look at him. "This is my day. I will not have it ruined by." She waved dismissively at Miguel, some charity case looking for a free meal. Miguel's expression didn't change. He just shifted the small package from one hand to the other. Victoria's father, Richard Ashford, materialized beside them, his face tight with that particular displeasure. Rich men perfect over decades of getting their way. "What is the problem here?" "This person crashed our wedding," Victoria said. "Probably saw the announcement in the Times and thought he could." "I'm David's uncle," Miguel said quietly. His accent was slight, his English clear. "I raised him, from when he was 8 years old until he graduated college." The words dropped like stones into still water. Victoria's head snapped toward David. "What?" David's face had gone white. "Uncle Miguel, you said you couldn't make it." "I know what I said, Mijo." Miguel's voice was gentle. "But I wanted to see you get married, even from the back. I didn't mean to cause trouble." He held out the package. "I just wanted to give you this." Victoria's eyes were cold, calculating. You could see her brain working, recalibrating. This wasn't just some random janitor. This was David's past, his poverty, his low birth walking right into her perfect day. "David," she said, her voice crystalline, "why didn't you tell me your uncle was... She couldn't even finish the sentence. "A janitor," Miguel supplied. No bitterness, just fact, because he was ashamed. "I wasn't ashamed," David said quickly, miserably. You were so excited about the wedding and your family, and I didn't want me to know you came from nothing." Victoria's voice rose again. She was playing to the crowd now, 300 witnesses to her humiliation. "That I married someone whose family cleans toilets for a living?" If this story touched your heart, subscribe and leave a comment. Maybe you've experienced something similar or know someone who has. The room had become a theater. Phones were out. Victoria's sorority sisters whispered behind their hands. The senator's wife looked scandalized. This was exactly the kind of drama that would explode across social media. "Please," David pleaded, "can we just go somewhere private?" "No." Victoria's voice cracked like a whip. "No, everyone should know. Everyone should see what I've gotten myself into." She turned to Miguel, her face twisted with contempt. "You should go. You're not welcome here. This is a celebration for people who matter." Miguel nodded slowly. Then he reached into his pocket. Victoria's father tensed, probably thinking of violence, of weapons, of ways poverty might strike at wealth. But Miguel just pulled out his phone. An old phone, a cheap phone, the kind you buy at a corner store. He tapped the screen a few times. Then he looked up at Victoria. "You're right," he said. "I should go. But first, I need to make a phone call." He hit speaker. The phone rang once, twice. Then a woman's voice answered, crisp and professional. "Rosewood Hotel Events Department. This is Jennifer." "Jennifer, hi, this is Miguel Reyes," he said calmly. "I need to cancel an event." Victoria laughed. "What are you? Your confirmation number, sir?" Miguel rattled off a string of numbers from memory. There was typing, a pause. Then Jennifer's voice came back, confused. "Sir, this is for the Ashford Reyes wedding, today's event, in the grand ballroom." The room tilted. "That is correct," Miguel said. "I'd like to cancel it. Full refund, please." Victoria's laugh died in her throat. What kind of sick joke? "Mr. Reyes," Jennifer sounded panicked now, "you understand this is a $340,000 event. The contract is under your name, your credit card. You arranged everything." "I understand," Miguel said. "Cancel it." The phone went dead silent. "Then, sir, if you cancel now, the event will stop. The staff will leave, the food service will end. We'll need to clear the ballroom." "I'm aware." David's face had gone from white to gray. "Uncle Miguel, what did you do?" Miguel finally showed emotion. Not anger, but deep, bottomless sadness. "What did I do? I spent my whole life savings, David. Every single dollar I saved from 37 years of cleaning office buildings. I worked double shifts, triple shifts. I cleaned the bank buildings at night and the hospital wings at dawn. I saved $380,000. Mijo." The number hit the room like a bomb. "I was going to use it to retire," Miguel continued, his voice steady but cracking at the edges. "To go back to Guatemala and see my sister before she dies. To rest my knees that don't work anymore from kneeling on bathroom floors, to stop smelling like bleach." He looked at Victoria. "But then David called me 6 months ago. So happy, so in love. Said he was marrying this wonderful woman, but her family wanted a big wedding, and he couldn't afford it. And he was ashamed, and—" "No," David whispered. "No, no, no. I didn't ask you to." "You didn't ask," Miguel agreed. "I offered because you're my blood, my boy. I raised you in a one-bedroom apartment in Jackson Heights. I packed your lunches and helped with your homework and drove you to college in a truck that barely ran. And when you got that teaching job, when you made something of yourself," his voice broke, "I was so proud." Tears were running down David's face. Victoria stood frozen. "So when you told me about Victoria, about her family, about how you felt like you weren't enough, I couldn't let you start your marriage feeling like that. I wanted to give you something. I wanted you to have one day where you felt like you belonged in her world." Miguel turned back to his phone. "But I also wanted to see who you were marrying. I needed to know if she loved my boy, my beautiful, kind, smart boy who reads poetry to his students and volunteers at the library, or if she loved what she thought you could become." The silence in that ballroom was suffocating. "So I came here in my work clothes," Miguel said, "on purpose, to see what she would do when faced with where you really came from." He looked at Victoria with infinite sadness. "And now I know." Victoria's mouth opened, closed. Her mind was racing. You could see it. $340,000. The dress, the flowers, the baccarat crystal, the 5-tier cake from the famous baker, the string quartet, the photographer. Every single detail she'd insisted on. Every upgrade, every luxury. "You're lying," she said, but her voice was hollow. "My father paid." "Your father paid for nothing," Miguel said simply. "Check with the hotel if you don't believe me. Everything is under my name. The contract, the insurance, the deposits. I even paid for the Vera Wang dress you're wearing." David gave me the receipt. "You told him it was your dream dress, but it was too expensive, so he asked me." "Stop." Victoria's voice was barely a whisper. "Stop talking." "Jennifer?" Miguel said into the phone. "I'll hold off on the cancellation, for now, but I want it on record that I can pull funding at any moment." "Understood, sir." The line went dead. Miguel pocketed his phone. Then he looked at his nephew. This young man he'd raised on rice and beans and love, who'd gotten a scholarship to Columbia, who taught kids in the Bronx about Shakespeare, and his eyes filled with tears. "I'm sorry, David. I thought I was helping. I thought I was giving you a good start, but I can't." His voice broke completely. "I can't give my life savings to help you marry someone who is ashamed of us." He set the wrapped package on a nearby table. Then he turned to leave. "Wait!" It was David who spoke. Quiet David, sweet David. David who'd been silent through his wife's tirade. He pulled off his boutonniere, a white orchid that cost $75. He walked to his uncle, and then, in front of 300 guests, this man in a $3,000 Tom Ford tuxedo embraced the janitor in work clothes. "I'm the one who should be sorry," David said, his voice thick with tears. "You gave me everything. Everything, and I let her. I let them." He couldn't finish. Miguel held his nephew like he was 8 years old again, like they were back in that one-bedroom apartment, like money and status and society weddings didn't exist. When they separated, David turned to Victoria. "The wedding's over," he said simply. "David, no." Victoria's voice pitched into panic. "I didn't know. I didn't know it was him if I had known." "If you'd known he was rich, you would have treated him differently?" David's voice was quiet, but it cut. "That is the problem, Victoria. That has always been the problem. I love you." "You love the idea of me," David said. "The teacher with the Columbia degree who could slot into your world. But you don't love Miguel, who made me. You don't love the apartment in Queens, or the second-hand clothes, or the scholarship applications. You don't love where I came from." He pulled off his wedding ring. "And if you can't love that, you can't love me." He placed the ring on the gift table next to Miguel's package. Then he took his uncle's arm. "Let's go home, Tifeo." They walked toward the exit together. 300 guests watched in absolute silence. Some were filming, some were crying, some were already texting, because this would be the story of the season. The bride who lost everything by despising a janitor who'd given her everything. At the door, David paused. He looked back at the ballroom, at the flowers and the crystal and the cake and the opulence. "Keep it," he said to Victoria. "Keep the party, keep the dress, keep the whole damn fairy tale." His smile was sad and broken. "My uncle paid for it. The least you can do is enjoy it." Then they were gone. Victoria stood in her $47,000 dress in the middle of her $340,000 wedding, and she had never been more alone. Her father approached, his face purple with rage. "What the hell just happened?" "I don't know," Victoria whispered. But she did know. She knew exactly what happened. She'd gambled that David's meekness meant his past was equally meek, easily hidden, easily dismissed. She'd never asked about his family because she didn't want to know. She'd taken the wedding, the dress, the ring, all of it, without ever questioning where a teacher's salary could possibly afford such things. She'd assumed, and assumption, coupled with cruelty, had cost her everything. "The wedding continues," Richard Ashford announced to the room, his CEO voice booming. "We have food, we have music. There is no reason to." But people were already leaving quietly at first, then in streams, because nobody wanted to stay at a party where the groom had walked out. Nobody wanted to celebrate a bride who'd humiliated the man who'd sacrificed everything for love. Within an hour, the ballroom was empty except for Victoria, her parents, and the catering staff, who were contractually obligated to stay. The baccarat crystal sat unused. The Ecuadorian roses began to wilt. The 5-tier cake was never cut. And somewhere in Queens, in a one-bedroom apartment with old furniture and clean floors, a teacher and a janitor sat together, drinking beer and laughing through tears, because sometimes the richest people in the room are the ones who never needed wealth to know their own worth.